everybody, and welcome to We Are Live Fire Up Wisconsin. All right, let's get it. Let's start with some energy here, okay? So, my name is Candy Ebling, and I'm going to be hosting this show tonight. I have a great panel here, and I'm going to kick it off to everybody so they can introduce themselves. Let's start off to the side. Madman Mancini, please introduce yourself.
Well, I always say this before I introduce myself. When God created women, the world was complete. Man, we couldn't find a better moderator than you to run Wisconsin. I'm part of XM203, Sirius 217, Sports Byline, SB Nation. Also have a show out of Philadelphia, WWDB AM 860 Talk. And proud to announce for the second year in a row a podcast I'm doing with Erick Brock and the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Nice. And then just above Madman Mancini is Scott Morganroth, Motor City Madmouth.
That's it, folks. 42 years in the business, sports media. I'm in charge of this old South Florida Tribune, and you can find me on Twitter at Tribune South. So wearing a Grand Canyon hat today. Why? Because the Milwaukee Brewers happen to train in the Grand Canyon state of Arizona. So in case you guys are wondering, well, there's a little Arizona connection, but yeah, I run the show here at the South Florida Tribune, and I'm happy to turn it over tonight. And I won't lose my voice because of Candy Ebling and Erick Katz and company. Thank you, Candy.
Okay, and next up above me is Mr. Erick Katz, or better known as Mr. Concrete Dump.
Yeah, for those wondering, I dropped a bomb on the old Olympic Stadium in Montreal where the Expos used to play. That for some reason they haven't blown it up themselves.
Okay.
Wow. They haven't blown up a dump. Well, they've nicknamed the dump out here at Dodger Stadium. That's what the Mets said. It smells like rat urine in the video room. I don't know why they haven't blown that joint up yet.
What, Dodger Stadium?
Oh, yeah.
Let's get a little descriptive, Mark. I mean, don't take away Erick's thunder because after all, he came up with Concrete Dump. It was original. And I ordered this kid.
I just figured a play on words, man.
I know.
Got a dump in Los Angeles.
Yeah, but I ordered Erick Katz to use Mr. Concrete Dump as his nickname. And everybody has a nickname. Of course, Candy doesn't have hers yet, but we're working on that. All right, Candy, it's all yours.
Okay, so let's see. Why would South Florida Tribune be doing a podcast, Fire Up Wisconsin? Well, because yours truly is originally from Wisconsin. And if you can see in the background, you can see a painting of Miller Park. That is near and dear to my heart. So let's start off a little bit by talking about the Milwaukee Brewers. Erick, lead us off here.
Well, you know, they're managed by Craig Counsell. I've spent a lot of time over there, particularly last summer, and not so much this summer, just with other things happening. But I spent a lot of time there last summer. Craig Counsell manages that team. He's definitely one of the most consistent managers in the bigs right now, being able to lead the Brewers to the playoffs the past 4 seasons, and he's won 2 Central Division titles, and he's made it to one NLCS where he lost in heartbreaking fashion to the Dodgers.
He actually is the 3rd longest tenure manager in the big leagues right now. Yes. And he hit a milestone, didn't he, yesterday?
He did. He tied the Brewers' all-time record with Phil Gardner for managerial wins.
Do you know the number?
563.
And you know what they're going to do with that 563?
No.
Starting tomorrow at 10 a.m., they are going to have 5,000 seats available that you can buy tickets at the price of $5.63 for the June 20th through the June 23rd series against St. Louis. So, but it's only for 5,000 seats for each of those games. Starts tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. and ends either when they sell out or at midnight. So if you want to go and get a great deal, where can you go to a ballpark for $5.63?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Oh, especially nowadays.
Exactly.
I think you know, and Craig was there throughout the rebuild, and he had that team improving just about every year. They start off with 61 wins. They just won more games each season. He was at the helm. In a normal year, forget the COVID year, because they went 29-31, but that was only a 60-game season. But he nearly got them to the playoffs in 2017. Mm-hmm. But then 18, he got them to the NLCS, and ever since then, the Brewers have become one of the most consistent franchises in the league today.
He is. Scott, you want to talk a little bit about Craig Counsell?
Yeah, I mean, he's going to pass Phil Garner, scrap iron. Everybody knows about Phil Garner. Obviously a guy that won world championships with the Oakland A's. He had a pretty good career in his own right. I got news for you as far as I'm concerned with the Milwaukee Brewers. They could put 30,000 seat people in that stadium blindfolded. It's one of the best sports baseball towns in the country. 30,000, 40,000, no problem for the Brewers. That's a walk in the park. I mean, really. But you know what? He deserves his due. And and I got news for you. Here's a guy that will go out there and have a managerial record that'll never get broken. So more power to him. He's a Wisconsin kid anyway, so it's only fitting that a Wisconsin kid is going to own the all-time wins record in the state of Wisconsin. More power to him. I mean, more power to the Brewers organization. They've done a good job bringing in a local kid, and all he does is win.
Madman Mancini, you want to talk about him?
Well, I like Greg Counsell, and I can go back to when George Bamberger, Bambi's Brewers, with Ben Ogilvy, Gorman Thomas, Sixto Lezcano, Pete Vukovich, Raleigh Fingers, and all those guys. That's the Brewers I remember. No knock on the Brewers now. But, I think this whole division, and I hate like hell to say it, being a Pittsburgh boy and doing a show in Milwaukee where you find people, that this thing is going to go through St. Louis. St. Louis has been a very consistent team. You can go back to the 80s with the Redbirds. They just got so much depth. I look at the Brewers. They got 3 guys injured now. Peralta's on the shelf. They've been in the midst of a streak where they've been losing. I think they snapped it against Washington, got swept by the Phillies at home. But I look at the Brewers guys, and correct me if I'm wrong, they're kind of going down the same road that I saw the Cincinnati Reds go 2 years ago when everybody was talking about the Cincinnati Reds and Trevor Bauer and everything. And now we're looking at the Cincinnati Reds in a different light, pulling up the bottom of the National League Central. So hopefully the Brewers can sign some of these guys long-term, keep it going. Craig Counsell's a good one. Phil Garner was a good one. I love Bernie Brewer. I like the slide and everything. But when I think of the Brewers, give me the 82 Brewers, man. I love those guys.
Well, that time they were Harvey's wall bangers anyways. And I should point out, too, the one thing about the Brewers organization compared to the Cardinals, we all know that the Cardinals certainly have the capabilities of spending a lot more money than the Brewers as well. And that's why they're able to land talent. And Milwaukee's way of talent is they have to develop, and they develop them pretty well. Go ahead, Mark.
Well, they don't spend like the Dodgers or the Yankees and buy $300 million players. Their farm system's pretty darn good. They got guys coming up through there: Carlson, Edman, Bader. They're right there. And last year everybody was looking at the Cubs and doing some damage. We found out what the Cubs were all about. But I will tell you this: being a Pittsburgh boy, I always grew up loving the Milwaukee Bucks. Man, give me Al Cindor, give me Danrich, give me Robertson. Give me the Bucks. Give me Fear the Deer.
I hear you. Unfortunately, that was last year, and we did really well last year as champs.
A ringer.
Yes.
Giannis probably had the greatest walk-off game bet than anybody I've ever seen.
Well, Mark has to root for the NBA Bucks because they don't have an NBA team in Pittsburgh anyway, so it doesn't make any difference.
Well,
so that's not that I know.
The Bucks have always been a very consistent team, even when they played in the West, and then they were moved over to the East with the Chicago Bulls. You can go back to Larry Costello. Right. I mean, I know the trade that landed Jabbar out here and Kent Benson and everybody went back there, but even when Big Dog was there and Sam Cassell and everything and Don Nelson was running it, the Bucks have been a very consistent organization. With the loss in Middleton this year, this team would have done some serious damage. They'll be back, small market team. I like the Bucks' chances, and it's a Celtics year. It looks like this year, unless Golden State can stop them.
Well, more power to him, and rest in peace, Bob Lanier. He used to play for the Detroit Pistons, and I know they worked very hard. Don Nelson wanted him to get a championship ring. in the worst way, but the Philadelphia 76ers and the Boston Celtics stood in Bob Lanier's way. But at least Bob Lanier, who I had a chance to meet over at Market Square Arena years ago, had the biggest foot on the planet, like a size 21 or 22 shoes. So, all right, Candy, go ahead. I get a little bit of a history lesson here.
No, that's all good. I mean, the Bucks are up and coming. They built a whole big district around their stadium,
Yes.
make it an entertainment, district. More and more stadiums are doing that, and now actually the Brewers are talking about doing that. But I'm gonna reel it back in a little bit because I'm gonna ask you guys any idea what Craig Counsell and I have in common. Any guesses?
Birthday?
No.
Whitefish Bay.
No.
I'd want to say that you were born in Indiana.
We were both born in Indiana, but grew up in Wisconsin.
Right.
So
Yeah.
good
I
jobs.
know. Yeah. I mean, there you go. Can you let the cat out of the bag? No, we're not talking Bucky and Boots. We're talking about, I don't know. You were born in what, is it Gary, Indiana?
I was officially born in Indiana. I only spent 1.5 years of my life there, but majority of it in Milwaukee. The same with Counsell.
So what city was he born in Indiana?
He was born in, let me think if I remember this correctly.
I know he went to Notre Dame.
He did. Oh.
It's funny because his coach, his current bench coach, Pat Murphy, was his head coach at Notre Dame.
Yes, and he played actually for the Brewers before he managed the Brewers.
He did. He was a solid player.
He was on 2 World Series teams. In fact, he's the last player known to be on base with walk-off hits to win both World Series.
Yeah, he had that sack fly in the World Series in '97 with Leland's Marlins.
To answer your question, he was born in South Bend, Indiana. He'll actually be 52 on August 21st. So, South Bend, Indiana, you're Gary, Indiana. Either way, you're Indiana people raised in Wisconsin. So
Let me ask you guys something if I can. I've never been a big fan of Bud Selig, even when he was owning the Milwaukee Brewers. The new owner was born out here in Los Angeles, and I think he's done an adequate job of really building this Brewer team up. I think Selig, and I wasn't a big fan of Selig even when he was the commissioner of the thing, but I don't think Selig did enough for the Brewer organization compared to this new owner. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Well, I disagree with you on that. I'll tell you why. Number one, he was bold in the 1994 strike and was willing to break the union to make sure that baseball got back on track. And number two, if it weren't for Selig, there wouldn't be Major League Baseball in Milwaukee. Sorry, Eric.
Here's the thing with Bud. I mean, Bud really cared about bringing baseball back to Milwaukee. He was bold enough to try and he failed the first time around to try and get the White Sox to come up, even though the White Sox had played some exhibition games in Milwaukee. But he also was able to go over to the bankruptcy auction and get the Seattle Pilots, who are famous for Jim Bouton and a bunch of other characters on that team. He was able to get them to come to Milwaukee, and as well as despite wanting to go back to the old Milwaukee Braves, he actually genuinely cared. You're thinking of the later era where his family still owned the team, much to the chagrin of Major League Baseball, and his sister was kind of in it, and his sister had no idea what she was doing. And so you're thinking of that. He was commissioner at the time. His sister was really on the day-to-day of that, but his sister really, had no idea what she was doing. Now, the Antanasio family. I have nothing. The Antanacios are just wonderful people. I've heard them speak before. They truly, genuinely care about winning. They are just great to the fans whenever you sit by them. They are just truly wonderful people. And they're in it for the right reasons. Actually, a fun fact is Mark Antanasio is close friends with Tom Brady. And the Antanasios themselves, they truly care. They want to keep baseball in Milwaukee. They're trying to get that entertainment district that they see with the Bucks, which I think would be perfect for that place, because the amount of parking lot space they have out there, especially in the back, because I know it doesn't get filled because I parked there not long ago. The amount of tailgating will always be a thing, but the Antanasios, they're in it for the right reasons. They want to win. They love Milwaukee, and I have no doubt and also the city themselves, they love them back.
Miller Park was one of the smartest things that they did when they invested in building a dome stadium in Milwaukee, because fans from Wisconsin come from all over the state.
Yeah.
And they're guaranteed a game. Whereas before, when we had County Stadium, it was an open stadium. You didn't know if it was going to rain, if they were going to play or not. You couldn't take a bus tour from one of the other cities in the state, but you can now.
Yes.
That's awesome.
One thing that's great about Miller Park, and that the Antanasios, I think, have fostered in that culture, is they really do a great job at just making you feel like you're a part of the team. Like, they love the fans. They like, the people that they hire are just top of the line. They are probably the industry standard on how the fans should be treated.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But
one of the latest events that's going to be held in Miller Park, or I call it Miller Park. Sorry, I know it's American Family ballpark.
It's only been that way for 2 years, so
I know, that's all. Is actually, Eric, I don't know if you've heard this. The University of Wisconsin men and women's basketball team are actually going to play a game in Miller Park this year in November.
I did hear about that. Yeah, that's huge. I mean, to be able to, just because I always felt like you could do a lot of different things in that ballpark, but
Mm-hmm.
they the Antanasios make good use of it. They understand they work really well with the city. They work well with the district that owns the stadium, and I have no doubt that the Brewers, are going to be there for as long as the Antanasios are there.
I agree.
The
Any other thoughts on the Brewers or Craig Counsell?
I mean, Craig, he's the best manager the Brewers have ever had. He's gotten them to a winning standard. He fosters a culture. The guy is also no moment's too big for him. He's very even-keeled. He's the same guy on a win, same guy at a loss. He, including this frustrating 8-game losing streak, he still kept it. He does a great job with the media, keeping it together. And it was funny because I was at a game. I was sitting close down. They were facing the Reds, and it was when this was last year when the Reds were really a thing up until September and October when they just fell apart. And Jake Cousins throws a wild pitch. The Reds take the lead 3-2, and then eventually the Brewers get the lead back. Everybody's screaming as they should be, but Craig's not moving. He's just not doing anything because he knows what we know. He knows there is still an inning to go, and Joey Votto is due up.
Yep, that's awesome.
I really think Craig can take him to the World Series. It's just a matter of the cards falling right. Because last year I felt like they really had a chance last year with pitching and defense, but their bats just died at the wrong time.
I agree. I think one of the things that makes Craig so good as a manager is that he played for 16 seasons. Then when he retired as a player, he went into the front office. And then from the front office, he went into the managerial role. So I think he's seen all the different facets of the organization, which helps make him a better manager.
Well, more importantly, the guy wasn't a superstar player, although some superstars can actually become good managers. But Craig Counsell is one of those guys that wasn't a superstar player, so he can relate to the game and see in a much different way. Like you alluded to, Candy, he won a championship with the Marlins and the Diamondbacks. I mean, my goodness, he's a championship caliber player who performed at clutch times. Mark, anything you want to add to it?
Well, I mean, I like Counsell. I mean, it can't. I think when I look at the Brewers, I think I look at the Washington Nationals a few years ago and they won a World Series. I think when you have to take advantage of the opportunities as they present, because that window of opportunity starts to close in and year out. We saw that with the Dodgers. I'm not going to give them a World Series in 2020 playing 60 games. They haven't won a World Series playing a full season in 3 decades. So, the window of opportunity is closing. Counsell's a good manager, but they got to really look at this team in the next year or so and figure out, are we in this for the long haul to get this team a World Series winner, or are we going to break it up like we did with the Cincinnati Reds? But getting back to Bud Selig real quick to finish that thought, Scott, you and I will not see this in our lifetime, and probably Eric and Candy either. They're never going to break the baseball union and the players union in baseball. They'll never break that. It's the strongest union in this country. It's probably stronger than the Teamsters. That's a union that will never get broken. We will never see that broken. And good luck on Bud Selig trying to break that back in '94.
I mean,
but I'm going to tell you one thing, though.
it was
Mark.
a lot smaller than what it is now.
Yeah, but I'll tell you one thing. If anybody go ahead and challenge them, the fact that you canceled the '94 World Series, and then all of a sudden you're getting into replacement players, and these guys are missing paychecks, Mark, into spring training into it, don't tell me those mortgage payments are going to get paid because Bud Selig gave it a bigger challenge than most of the other commissioners could do. So, I'm actually siding with Bud Selig, and maybe we have differing opinions, and there's nothing wrong with that, Mark.
Well, that's great. We can throw the ladders, tables, and
Right.
chairs out, but I will tell you this. You're seeing what's happening in golf today. If people are coming with big money, they can have foreign owners come in here and buy the place up too. Now, granted, they don't have the stadiums in place,
Right.
but foreign money is just as big, if not bigger, than the American money too. So if these owners don't want to pay these players, the players will get paid one way or another. They're
Well,
the
I'm sure-
ones.
I'm sure
we
that-
saw in football with people using quarterbacks as painters and salesmen. Nobody was going to the games to watch that.
I do want to piggyback off what Candy said, this because she makes a really excellent point. Target Field, why they decided to make that an open-air stadium in Minnesota, to me, is a mystery. I understand that they wanted an open air, but not in Minnesota, of all
It's
places.
too cold.
Right?
It's too cold. You're not going to draw anything in April and probably the early part of May up there.
But I just thought I'd throw that in. All right, Candy, go ahead.
I think we're going to take this to a little different area in Wisconsin, although we're going to stay in Milwaukee. We're going to go down to the lakefront, and let's talk about the music festival that's starting next weekend. It's called Summerfest, everybody, and most of you know it actually started in 1968. It's at Henry Meier Festival Park, and it was named by the mayor at the time back in 1960s. Wow. He was Henry Meier, and he built the festival. He had gone to Oktoberfest in Germany and said, I want to bring that to Milwaukee, and I want to bring ethnic festivals. So for years, they have had different ethnic festivals on those park grounds that are right on Lake Michigan. This next weekend starts Summerfest, which used to be a 10-day consecutive day run music festival. And they've called it the world's largest music festival because it actually set the Guinness Book of World Records back in 1999 for the world's largest music festival. It's now been broken, but it's a 75-acre park. It has 12 different stages with over 1,000 performers on this. They just renovated American Family Insurance Amphitheater, and it holds now 23,000 people. It has held, in their 50-plus years of having this music festival, it has held some of the greats: Paul McCartney, the Rolling Stones, Tina Turner, Metallica, Whitney Houston, Stevie Wonder, Lady Gaga, and Kenny Chesney, just to name a sample of who have all been in the past. And now I'm going to kick it off to Erick, because I know Erick's going to talk a little bit about who they're going to have this year.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good mix. I mean, they kind of have it for everybody. I think this year they're doing a good job of just including all the age groups. Like if you want people who, if you want like older, you're going to get that. You want the younger generation, they're going to get that. But they're having Rod Stewart this year. They're having the Steve Miller Band. They're having Jason Aldean, Machine Gun Kelly, Thomas Rhett, Lil Wayne, Justin Bieber, the Steve Miller Band, Zach Bryan, April Lavigne, Steve Aoki, Wiz Khalifa, Dustin Lynch, the Black Crowes. They're having a lot of familiar names out there this year. They're also having Blue Oyster Cult, Rick Springfield. So they got a pretty good mix. I think they're doing a better job than in years past of really trying to attract the younger generation out there, as well as the older generation who likes the older music out there this year. And I think, it's going to attract, I think, more than one person out there.
Erick, do you know the dates of the festival this year?
Yes, I do. It is it starts on June 24th. Hold on, I'm getting that. June 23rd and goes to July 9th.
So it's the weekends. It's each weekend. It's the 23rd, 24th, 25th, the 30th, the 1st, the 2nd, and then the 7th, 8th, and 9th.
Yes.
Yep, exactly. Wow. So it's an awesome, and I would say, I remember when I went, and this was years ago, but they have even the young, just starting out bands that are just trying to get a crack. They're opening for other people. Like I remember seeing Evanescence before they were big. I remember seeing Chicago. I saw REO Speedwagon and some of the, I saw Sting. I've seen so many, but when they started, yes.
We're going to give away our age candy here. Maybe we have some old Milwaukee and some bratwurst too.
Oh yeah. And that's the other thing is they have all kinds of different restaurants that serve there. From German food, they have all kinds of different. It's a really great experience. And I can't compare it to anything else because, I remember one year back years ago, it drew over 1 million people.
Wow.
And that doesn't count the people who come from out of town because Milwaukee is packed. The hotels, you cannot get a hotel. The hotel over there, I think it's a Hilton on Clybourne. That thing fills up like in advance.
That's okay, Eric. We're coming to your place.
I'm sure.
Hey, Mark, I realize you don't have a whole lot of time left. So what I would advise you to do while you have an opportunity is let everybody know how they can get a hold of you in case you have to get off a little bit earlier.
Same way everybody tries to get a hold of me at XM Sirius 203-217. SB Nation Sports Byline, part of the Tampa show, part of a New York show, Philly show, Miami show, Vegas show. I don't know. There's so many shows. I'm telling you, I'm going to have to get frequent flyer miles here, Scott.
Yeah, I know. Well, between you and I, we already have a few of them out in our row. We got Michigan.
This is a great show. I love this thing.
We got Wisconsin. And anytime you associate Guinness Book of World Records, just Madman Mancini with all the shows he's on, Guinness Book of World Records gets a run for his money.
No, I love this, man. This is one of my favorites,
you know
man.
What?
This Milwaukee, man, little bratwurst.
I can't wait to get Mancini.
You're old Milwaukee's, and I feel like Stone Cold Steve Austin.
I can't wait to get you and I in person. It's going to be one big act that they'd have to pay big money to see you and I go at it.
It'll be a pay-per-view.
But no, we had to make sure you got your contact information. And all I'll say about the entertainment out there is this, okay? Since I'm not familiar with the event, is I know the one thing about living in a northern climate is they generally tend to have a lot of these types of things depending on the area. And yes, they're going to attract different bands for different age groups. REO Speedwagon is one that I wouldn't care where they had it. If I could have an opportunity to see them, I have. The only time I've ever seen them, I think, was either at Pine Knob or the Palace of Auburn Hills. But other than that, they're heavily featured on YouTube and all the discs that I probably bought that aren't any good. And I don't think they were on my 8-track taste. But all right, continue on, Candy. Had to make sure Man and Mancini got his stuff in.
I think part of the beauty of that festival, too, is that it's right on Lake Michigan. So you can just sit, and if you want, there's grass areas, some places you can take a blanket, just sit out there, listen to the music, watch the water, watch the boats drive. They always have what's called the Big Bang fireworks the first night of the festival. It's just a real good event downtown on the lake.
Hey, listen, on one of my tablets, I got a view of Lake Michigan as my background, so I had to like it when we were staying in Racine. So, all right, well, that's
Eric. Anything else you want to add to tonight's?
Well, it's a great show from what I hear. I haven't made it out yet, but it's definitely a great show if you have the chance to go out, being able to see like whatever band you want to see that's out there.
That's the beauty of it. And if you go with a couple of friends, and you can hop from one. Unless you're going to the main stage, then you really got to go in and you're sitting in there for the whole concert. But all the other stages, you can walk from one stage to another stage, catch a little bit of this show, catch a little bit of that show. It's just really a great venue.
It kind of reminds me a little bit of Epcot Center because, I've never been overseas across the big pond, but the one time I went to Epcot Center, you got a chance to see this country, that country, blah, 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 et cetera, So, yeah, I'd be anxious to get up there one of these days. So,
well, everyone, I think this has been an awesome first show. I want to pass around the torch so everybody can give how people can get a hold of them. so then we can do the final sign off for tonight. So
Well,
Madman already went.
I'll tell you, man, we might have to take the show and compete with these bands out there in Milwaukee and do a show, have an autograph signing Scott, Candy, and Eric. We might compete with these bands out there, man. Get the little bratwurst and everything going. They can find me all over the place, man. Hell, I don't even know where I'm at tomorrow, man, in some of these towns. But Scott knows where I'm at.
Yeah, well, I know where. And I know where we're probably gonna be heading at before it's all said and done with us, Mancini. Only you and I can only know what we got lined up between the two of us, lined up down the road. But that'll be for another episode. So yeah,
we're peanut butter and jelly. We're Abbott and Costello, man. We are 60 feet 6 inches. I don't know who's Steve Carlton and I don't know who's Tim McCarver, but we are right there, my friend.
Well, I don't know. You and I will make Abbott and Costello look pretty stupid.
There's a bar in Milwaukee called Who's On First.
Yeah, but you know what?
It's right on the strip. It's right on the strip.
By the time Mark Mancini and I get done, we'll make Abbott and Costello look dull.
Yeah,
I see.
Bring it on. Fire Up Wisconsin loves that energy.
Yeah, well,
I love you till my Pirates come through Milwaukee. Then I kind of come on, guys, let's just get out of town.
Mancini, I was actually at the Rowdy game when Rowdy Tellez had the game-winning home run against them.
Yeah, I know. Well, this year we're 0-6 against you guys. Hopefully we can right that ship.
Well, they got a good direction going with Reynolds and Hayes, and I think they're starting to get some pitching. So we'll see what happens.
Right.
Yeah, they're about 2 years removed.
Sounds good, Mr. Eric. Let everybody know how they can get a hold of you.
You can follow me on my Twitter at Sports Team News, or you can find my work on BellyOutSports.com where I read about Wisconsin Badgers football.
All right, and Mr. Scott.
Well, you know what? Look up my Twitter account at Tribune South. That's good enough. Candy knows the rest, and she'll go ahead and convey that in a moment. Go ahead.
Mark, any last minute how we can get a hold of you?
I'll tell you, you can get me Mancini Sports at yahoo.com. You can get me on Facebook, Mark Mancini, Mancini Media. And I will tell you this, Candy, you're right up there with Marianne Costello as one of the best moderators in the business. She moderates it in Philly. You moderate it here in Milwaukee. I am so blessed to be a part of you guys, man.
Thanks. Thank you. And we are part of the South Florida Tribune Network here. We have Fire Up Florida, Fire Up Michigan. Look for us. Look for 108 Stitches Baseball Talk, Sports Exchange. We have all kinds of different podcasts. Go to our South Florida Tribune. If you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, there's going to be a little red button in the bottom of this broadcast, probably in my box. Click it and hit subscribe, and you'll find all kinds of our broadcasts that you'll be able to enjoy. Otherwise, South Florida Tribune at gmail.com. We would love to hear any comments, ideas. Go to our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. Any last minute thoughts for anybody?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Candy Ebling does a good job filling in on all the shows. And more importantly, she's also a frequent host on No Limits as well. So she does a good job. You talk about an MVP. She's definitely it. Without her, the broadcast wouldn't get up the content. So kudos to you, Candy. You're doing an unbelievable job. And I'm glad that now you've taken on your latest endeavor, co-hosting, being the primary host with Erick Katz. And Mark and I are just happy to be along for the ride. So that's all I have to say.
Well, thanks, everybody, and thank you for being on Fire Up Wisconsin on our first episode. Everybody, stay happy and keep smiling.